Today we are working in our chapter for cubic and cube root functions, and we're going to work on solving equations. So let's try our first problem. Since this video is actually your assignment for today, what I'd like you to do is take your paper and divide it like I've shown here. So you're going to have your top line here, and above you're going to write solving, and then you're going to put the date, and then that'll help you find this video again if you ever want to go back. Divide the paper in half right here, and then put a line down at the bottom, just to leave a little space at the bottom of your paper, and this is where you're going to put any of that important information about errors that may occur, things that may happen that you're going to want to watch out for, things that you want to make sure you do so that you get all the points on the test. Okay, so we are going to do our first problem. So for our first problem, we're going to do the cube root of x plus 2 equals 2. And what I want you to recognize is we are solving something that has a cube in the root. Okay? So the next time you have to do a problem like this, you're going to be looking at how do I solve something when there's a cube instead of a squared or anything else like that. Okay? And it's probably going to be what you're thinking. We're going to cube both sides. Because if I cube both sides, then that'll get rid of these cubes, leaving just an x plus 2. And that's going to make 8. So my answer will be 6. Okay? So if I take 6 and plug it back in, I get 6 plus 2, and the cube root of 8 equals 2. So I've checked it, and that I've made sure that that is going to actually work with the original equation. Okay. So let's try a problem that's exactly like this. It's the same type of problem. And the problem that we're going to do is the cube root of x plus 3 equals 5. Okay, so stop the video right now and you try it on your own and see if you get my same answer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cube both sides, and I get x plus 3 equals 125. X equals, if I subtract 3, I get 122. So my final answer is x equals 122. Make sure that you check it, 122 back into the original equation. 122 plus 3 will equal 125, and a cube root of 125 is actually 5. So everything checks out. Okay? Remember, on these equations, what we're doing is we're looking at how do you solve something with a cube root. Okay? And I would remember to check answer in the original equation. Okay? All right, next problem. Okay, for number 3, we're going to watch out for our cube roots. our cube roots can be a negative number. So any number over here could be a -1, -2, -3, doesn't matter. A cube root can make a negative. This is possible. Okay, whereas before a square root was not possible, right? So these are possible. Okay, so the problem that we're going to do is the cube root of 5 plus 8x equals -3. Okay, I'm going to cube both sides to get rid of that cube root. And that's going to give me a -27 on the right hand side. And that will make that go away. Okay, I'm going to subtract 5, which will be a -32, right? So if I divide by 8, I get x equals -4. Okay, so if I try putting -4 into the original equation right here, I'm going to have 5 plus a -32, which is actually, and I'm going to go throw that cube root in there, actually the cube root of -27. Which means that the cube root of -27 is -3. This here and this are actually true. So my answer, x equals -4, is a good answer. Okay? What you want to remember is that anything that is an odd root, if that's an odd number, it is okay to equal a negative number. Okay? Here we go. Let's try the next problem. For problem number 4, we're going to make sure that we simplify first. Okay. So the problem is 3 cube root of x plus 3 equals 15. So I'm going to go ahead and solve and get the radical by itself. So I'm going to add to this the radical should be by itself. Okay, and you can add more to this. I'm just putting a very abbreviated list of keywords. So I'm going to subtract the 3 over, and that'll give me 3 cube root of x equals 12. Then I'm going to divide by 3, so I can get rid of these 3's. So I've got the cube root of x equals 4. Then I'm going to cube both sides, and I get x equals 64. If I go back and check that, I should have the cube root of 64 right here would be 4, and 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. So 15 will equal 15. So this right here is a good answer. Okay. If you don't simplify first, it'll make the answer, it'll look like you have the right answer, but it'll be totally different from what you should have gotten. Okay. It is possible to do that, but it takes more work. If you cube it first and don't simplify, it'll take more work to get down to the right answer. Okay? So make a note right here about simplify first. Okay? Or put the radical by itself on one side of the equation. All right, let's try another one. Number 5 is going to be just like number 4. So I want you to stop the video and see if you can do number 5. So we have 3 cube root of 2x plus 6 minus 4 equals 14. Okay, stop now and then try this problem. To solve it, I'm going to get the radical by itself. So I'll have 3 cube root of x, cube root of 2x plus 6 equals 18. I'm going to divide the 3 on both sides, and that's going to give me cube root of 2x plus 6 equals 6. I'm going to cube both sides, and that will make 2x plus 6 equals 216. If I subtract 6, I get 2x equals 210. And dividing that, if I divide 2 on both sides, I will get 105. I can go back and check, make sure that 105 will work, because I know that 105 will make 210 right here. And let's see here, 210 plus 6 is 216. The cube root of 216 is 6, and 6 times 3 is, right here is 18. 18 minus 4 is 14. So I am good with the answer of x equal 105. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so for number 6, we're going to figure out how to solve a problem when you have a fraction or an exponent that is a fraction. Okay, so if there is how do we deal with that? Okay, so we have an example of x plus 5 to the 2/3 equals 4. Imagine this. What if remember how we square both sides or cube both sides? What if I took and did the reciprocal of this, okay, on both sides? That would make this cancel here and cancel here, okay, because if I multiply 2/3 times 3/2, everything cancels, which is what I want anyway. I want it to be 1, okay? So let's think of it that way. But I want to kind of break it down when we work it out. So let's do things one at a time. So here we go. X plus 5 to the 2/3. Okay? Let's cube it first, because we know that cube is going to get rid of that 3 because they cancel out. So we're going to cube everything first, which is going to make this 64. Okay? Now, so far we have gotten rid of the 3. So now what we have is x plus 5 squared equals 64, which you've done before. All you have to do is now square root both sides. which is the same as making it 1/2. Okay, if I square root both sides, I get x plus 5 equals, and what do you do when you have a square root? X plus or minus 8. So we're going to subtract the 5 over. Okay. And my answer is x equals 3 and x equals negative 13. All right. If you go back and check these answers, if you check 3 will make a 8, and the cube root of 8 is 2. 2 squared equals 4. So 3 will work. If you put negative 13 in there, that'll make a negative 8, and a cube root of negative 8 is okay. That'll make a negative 2. Negative 2 squared is also equal to 4. So both of these answers will work. Okay. Make sure that when you square root both sides, that you put in your plus minus. Okay, next problem. So for problem number 7, this is gonna be the same as 6. Okay, making sure that you know how to work it. So stop the video now and try this one on your own. Now for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cube both sides. So I'll have x plus 2 squared equals, and 9 cubed is 729. Okay. I'm going to square root both sides. Okay, and that'll give me x plus 2 equals, and square root of 729 is 27. If I subtract 2 on both sides, I will get 25. Okay, let's make sure that that's working. So 25, if I put 25 right here, I'm going to have 27. The cube root of 27 is 3 right there, and then 27 squared, the cube root of 27 is 3, and then 3 squared equals 9. So this one is a good answer. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, so for number 8, we're going to do 2 times x minus 1 to the 4/3 equals 36. Let's do equals 32. Okay. And I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So that's going to give me x minus 1 to the 4/3 equals 16. So let's cube both sides to get rid of this 3. Okay, because remember the 3's are going to cancel this one out. And that's going to give me x minus 1 to the 4th equals 4,096. Okay, so I'm going to take the 4th root, like as if I was doing the square root, right? But I've got to do the 4th root to get rid of this 4. Okay, so if I take the 4th root of 4,096, I'll get 8. Okay, and I'll tell you how I did that. In the calculator, I took the square root first, and then I did the square root again. That's actually allowed. Okay, so square root of 4,096 and the square root of 64 will get you 8. Okay, and we're not going to have too many of these big numbers, so this one should be okay. If you add 1 on the other side, And remember the fourth root, so we got to put this in here too. The fourth root is the same way. You're going to do a plus, it's going to be a plus minus, okay? So you're going to have plus minus 8, and then you're going to add the 1 over on the other side. So x is going to equal 9 or -7. So now I'll go in and check, and I'll make sure that -7 works. So I put a -7 right here. That'll give me -8. -8, the cube root of -8 right here is a -2, and -2 to the fourth is 16. 16 times that 2 will give me 32. Okay. If I do the 9 works the same way. 9 minus 1 will give me 8, and then everything works the same way. So both of these answers are good answers. Okay. Alright, that's it for this video for today. Make sure that you've worked out all these problems with me. Write them down in your notes using the format that I've given you, and take a picture of it, load it to your Google Drive, and that is your assignment for today. Have a good one.